Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Wasteless World Talks. Today with Bill, Kevin, and myself, we will talk a simple term with just three letters. W-I-N, win. And I will start with you, Bill, because I have you on the top of the screen. If you close your eyes and you hear the term win, which came first to your mind, please?
So I'm a little bit confused because if we talk about an athletic game like soccer, then it's very easy to tell who wins and who loses. It's the score. But if we talk about something like dying, is that a lose or is that a win? If you die of cancer, then you've lost your battle. So it's more nebulous. It's hard to tell what is a win and what is a lose. Oh boy. Kevin, help me.
I was thinking of a win as an achievement. And the great thing about that is that it can be a collective achievement. It doesn't have to be this selfish-driven mountaineering kind of achievement, but much more a win for society or a win for the town or the city or the business that you're in.
You know what is interesting? I asked, before even the noontime, I asked the colleagues in here, and the first which came, I have to say, they do not speak English, okay? So this simple term they know, of course. But the first which came was Windows. Computer system, Windows. That was the win for them.
I have to say that would be very low down on my list, maybe the last.
But for them, because they do not speak English, and Windows win is the abbreviation is used even in Czech, so it was generally the only one. That was interesting.
So what is the opposite of win?
We discussed this in the noontime. I asked whether lose is the opposite of win, but at the end we said generally no. It's one of the opposites if you use it, for example, in the game which you mentioned, Bill. But there are many things. I will more concentrate not on the opposite, but on other terms which can be used for the same achievement as a win, if they are any.
I once met, and I guess winning depends upon the game you were playing, but this guy, he was playing a very odd game. He was an American, and he was an ex-CIA guy who was now working for an ad agency network in Hungary. And he was saying, the good thing about advertising is they can take your car, they can take your house, but they cannot take your life. And for him, that was a win-win situation. But he actually meant it.
Is success the another term for win or achievement?
Again, it depends upon what you're trying to win. I think that this expression that all is fair in love and war, it shows the seriousness and the fact that it is, you either win or you've lost. There is no middle ground. And it's not the taking part that counts on that kind of win. Whereas with other wins or other losses, it is the being a part of something is good enough.
I asked the question, what is the biggest win for the people who we discuss in the noontime? And Charito, who is a real estate agent in Philippines, she said, my children, or three of them. And this is win which I will never forget. and it is here, and it will remain here even after she will leave. And it was quite interesting because we came, generally in the entire discussion, we did not talk about the sporting part, so about this short thing, but we spoke more about this long and duration time as winning the life back. For example, there was a Dr. Ash generally who has a surgery, heart surgery, and he came back to life, and this is a victory for him. So as the way that he realized that there are more important things that just to hunt the money. And since then he changed generally. So it was quite interesting that they saw it. At the beginning, when I thought about the term, I have the term winner, but for whatever reason, it was not exactly the right one, you know. So, and then came this win, and I said, yes, that's the term we should discuss. And just to tell you, I have to congratulate you to your win, because this is 99th session.
Hey.
And I love more the number 99 because I love visual aspect. 100 is boring, 1, 2 zeros, it's boring, but 99, it's really nice.
Well, good for us. That's quite an achievement. That's quite a win. Is it different, a win, what a person considers a win for themselves, different from what society considers a win for the people or for society? So if I'm looking for a win for me, it might be in the realm of business, or my child graduating from college, or very personal. A win for society or for people generally would be very different. I think it would be maybe something having to do with the environment, or something to do with lack of war, or lack of negatives. Is a win a lack of negatives? Um, it, so I think it's different depending on who we are that's asking the question.
And it's interesting. I really don't play any board games, card games, dice games, nothing. I have no computer games. I just have no interest in it at all. But with 3 kids, of course, I had to play a lot of them. And the great thing was, because I wasn't at all interested in doing them, the kids won every time. So for me, the fact that I'd lost was a win for me anyway, because they were happy to win.
There you go.
Yesterday, they spent 7 hours in Brussels discussing Industry 5.0. It was a live stream. I was banned, of course, so I was not there. There has been 40 people sitting in a room, putting their hands together all the time they say something. And it was 7 hours of lying, misinterpretation, completely. And at least 10 people of those know who I am and know what Industry 5.0 is. But they pretended not to know and spread the lies generally introduced by European Commission, you know. And I was very exhausted. I recorded it, so you can see it. They forgot, for some reason, they forgot to record it. So I did for them on the screen of my phone, and it's on my YouTube channel already. So everybody can look what they are discussing. So I was very tired. Energy was out of me generally, and I was not listening to that, just parts. But then I went to my colleague here, who is at the door gate, and we just shortly talked, and I realized they did not win. Generally, they are losing. And they are losing so much. And the great part about it, you know, in the middle about, they went for 2 hours, they discussed, then they went for a lunch. Can you guess how long is the lunch in Brussels?
It's a little bit longer than the lunch I take, yeah.
150 minutes. So after spending
Really?
120 minutes discussing, they went for 150 minutes for a lunch to discuss again 120 minutes. So, and they get paid for all. But the great part about it, the live stream was on even during the lunch, which means empty room for about 200 people, completely lit, I'm sure completely heated, all screens on, stream on, and these people talk there how we must save environment. So I think that from the society perspective, frequently win is something like pretended win for a small group of people which get money on being paid for having such meetings about nothing generally. And them to be there because the result was the next meeting. Nothing else. The next meeting on October 16th. So I think that the personal win you feel inside, you feel it's something more, as Kevin says, he lost every single time, but it was a victory because the kids has been happy, they learned something and so on. But the society does not have it. Money, power, whatever. But this is not important. Just for the people who say it is important.
Michael, do you have this expression in Czech, a Pyrrhic victory?
Apparent victory.
No, we have something similar. I just do not came to the exact expression, but I think we have something similar. Just interesting about the pirates. It
comes from.
Sorry.
Go on.
There is a political party called Pirates here in my country. There has been in Germany, in other countries. And yesterday, they make after the election, they generally lose everything. So there was a meeting with the prime minister and the head of Pirates, and this meeting finished. And the head of Pirates came out and says, "Yeah, we agreed on everything. We will work together," and so on. 2 hours later, the prime minister fired him. 3 hours later, there was so very nasty press conference and a lot of nasty words. And 1 hour later, again, everything is fine, because they realize that the money they get for nothing, it's quite interesting for them. So it's about a pirate. I think we should include this pirate victory. We should probably include it in the vocabulary in the Republic.
This one's actually a different victory. It comes from ancient Greece, and I don't know if it's the name of the king or the name of the place, but it was a battle that was fought, and the ones who won, they may have won the battle, but they lost the war. So it's a victory which is actually a defeat.
And we have exactly that, what you said at the end. You can win the battle, but you lose the war, or you can win the war or lose the battle. I don't know. So this is what we have in Czech. Yes.
So
and in fact,
to win, does that mean that I, as a person, believe that I got the goals that I set out to get, so I won? Or does this mean that we as a people looked at the goals I got and said, "Oh, you're a winner"? Because if that's the answer, then you can buy a win. You can, the head guy can stand up and say, he won, he's a winner. When in fact, in my heart, I know I didn't. I made some awful mistakes, miscalculations. I didn't try my hardest. I did not win that. So, so what does to win mean? Does it mean in your heart you won, or do all the people acclaim you as the winner?
Uh, yes, Kevin?
And does it matter?
You, Kevin.
And I think also people, some people are so desperate to win, they will cheat to win. And then have they really won? I mean, no, I would say.
Is it in your countries the same like in here? If a political party gets, I don't know, 5% and it gets to this government or senate or whatever, that they get money from the government. They get money because they are winners. So in my country, if you have more than 5% and you reach the parliament, let's say, you get some amount which is calculated based on the percentage or whatever. I don't know how the calculation is running. And it was quite interesting because the last election, which has been over weekend here in Czech Republic, the opposition get 35%, which is a really big number because the current government generated almost nothing good for at least from the perspective of the ordinary people. And the information which came along that with this 35%, they will get 75 million Czech crowns. And when I saw this, I just imagine myself. I go to shop. I buy food for 1,000 crowns. And the shop gave me 5,000. It's exactly that. So it's such a nonsense that for winning an election where I will get from the election money, if I work good, I will get because I get the salaries and everything around. Still, I get a bonus of 75 million Czech crowns. I don't know if it's worked the same in other countries, but it surprised me. And one more thing, 68.09% did not vote.
Really?
And I find out in the laws and legislations across Europe, there is no limit for the election to be valid in percentage, which means in near future, only the politician can vote themselves and it will be still valid. And there are only 2 countries in Europe, according to my knowledge, which does not have this. And this is Belgium and Luxembourg, because they must go to vote. They must go for election. It's a condition of being a citizen to go for election. But all the other countries does not have this minimum percentage rule, which is very, very strange. I don't know how it is in the US, but it is very, very strange.
I wonder why we have never done that. I don't think that that's in the U.S. There is no minimum percentage. In the U.S. also, we don't. The winner does not get money from the government, although they do get other things. So, for example, if you have at least 5% of the vote, then you are required they must offer you a a seat at the debate. You have to be in the debates if you've made 5%. And that's worth a lot of money because it's a lot of publicity. But a minimum amount, eventually you could get down to 2 votes. And,
That's exactly.
and the Giants they could have a party at night, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, they say, okay, we'll play rock, scissors, paper, right? And that will determine the next leader of the country.
But I think not voting is a vote in itself. If I was faced with how the election in the US was squaring up in the summer, I wouldn't have voted for either candidate. But there's one thing you forget, Bill, is that these modern European democracies, they use state money to finance their political parties. Whereas in the US and the UK, we still rely on private sources, usually anonymous. So if you win the seat in parliament, you're going to stay on winning for the next 5 years, no matter which party you're in.
So there are a lot of things, and we have today in the morning quite interesting discussion with Katie, which came here, and we just find out that the current society and generally business industry, everything, it's so. If it will be a piece of wood eaten by these small bugs, I don't know how they are called. We call them wood eaters generally. Then the wood become weaker and weaker, and very weak wind will break it. And I think we are exactly in this stage where the complete society and economy is built on such a weak or reach such a weak point, then even a small wind will completely destroy it. And you probably, Kevin, I don't know whether you read it, this Draghi report. Just now everybody's speaking about. No, it's an economist, Italian economist who win Nobel Prize. And he just issued, a few days ago, he issued so-called Draghi report. And he completely busted out European Commission, says everything is wrong and energy and everything. And what was interesting for me was the part that the first commenter from European Commission, he said, Mr. Draghi report is based on Industry 5.0. But there was not a single term. In the entire report is not a single term about Industry 5.0. And yesterday, during the event in Brussels, one of the participants, generally one of the leading participants, says exactly the same. So it's quite interesting. And I tried, of course, to get in touch with Mario Draghi, but, you know, I'm just Michael Rada. He's a Nobel Prize winner, whoever, whatever. So, but it will be quite interesting to talk with him. And this is about win, and this is about lose. And I think that if the current society system and the economical system will lose, I think it can be win for the society generally, for the people.
Because that's actually, if you're talking about winning and losing, I think you also have to look at what the prize is. What are you winning? Because that makes taking part, or that makes winning far more relevant. You know, are we winning more freedom? Are we winning more democracy? Are we winning more whatever? Or are they winning? Are the giants winning? Because the winner takes something. The winner gets something. There is a reward usually for winning.
And the interesting part, if you remember, we spoke about awards. And we said the awards are given for you just to silence the people frequently. So if there are these conferences and so on. When I saw yesterday, everyone was so fascinating. Yes, we get the orders and it was so crazy if you look at it. Unbelievable how it can still resist, you know, it's so expensive. Wrong decisions completely, and still they are there.
I remember one, I think it was Halloween in London. And we were in a pub in Soho. And they were having a Halloween raffle. And I think that the main prize was a bottle of whiskey or something like that. But the second prize was the one that nobody wanted to win because it was in the 80s. And it was a mask of Salman Rushdie during that time when... So there's winning and there's not winning.
You know, when I was young, there has been quite a lot of sessions between the people, and they meet to parties and so on. And usually one of the prize was living animal. So, for example, pig. So everybody tries to avoid the pig, and the others try to get it. So it was quite interesting, but it was on almost everywhere I was, and there has been quite a lot of at the time. There was a living animal.
So you mentioned Brussels and two things. One was the our President Biden spoke, and this is one of his last speeches in public as a president, and he was calling for action from the UN, and said there were over 50 conflicts going on currently, 50 conflicts that the UN had been originally designed to eliminate. And the other thing that in excuse me, in the Guardian yesterday, it was mentioning that the UN, what do they call that? The goals that they the environmental
SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals.
And they mentioned the SDGs and said that the timeline that had been established was to have these have made significant progress on these by the year 2030, which really now is only about 5 years away, and that they thought that they would probably accomplish maybe 17%, maybe 17%. So I ask again, what is the opposite of to win?
I will add one more information. Yesterday, I don't know whether you noticed, yesterday there was a quite strong message from China because they agreed on a new, let's call it development plan. And generally, if you read it carefully, they are closing. They are doing exactly what I predicted 10 years ago. So because, of course, the world is still addicted on Chinese goods. And can you imagine if they close, if they stop exporting, it will be very, very, and they can, of course, set only Arab Emirates, they will get the goods, or only these, because, the Communist Party still has quite a strong, let's say, tools to get this done. So in combination with the Draghi report and the Chinese, there are few days between. It's very interesting. This is this rooted whatever piece of wood. It's really just waiting for the next wind to break.
When you talk about the termites,
Yeah.
We don't just change. We don't just say, oh, I think today we'll not pay attention to the giants, or we'll whatever. It needs to get bad. We need to feel pain before we change. And so maybe, as rotten as the wood has got, it still needs to be a little bit more rotten for us to feel the pain and make a change. That's an awful thought, isn't it?
Yesterday I have another I have not a webinar, but I have a short presentation on 3 schools, and I finished this with the words how it was, I wish you not to grow, I wish you degrowth, because I would like you to get strong. And I never used this before, but I think it's very close to what you said, Bill. Yes, we need to feel that. And we are already do that in many aspects, just nobody combined them together. We are here combining a lot of together. But the people still struggle in one direction, even these they are struggling. So it's quite interesting.
The term that you used, Michael, degrowth, have we used that as a word yet?
I don't think so. No, I think we did not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because it's, I think that might be a really interesting discussion, because some people look at that as anti-capitalistic or even communist degrowth. It means settling for less. There's a whole bunch of synonyms for degrowth that are all negative. And yet there are many good things about degrowth to make us stronger, as you just said. Um, but that's a word, degrowth, I think is a word we're going to be hearing a whole lot more about over the next year or two or three.
It is just important, as you said, to help the people to realize that it's not the negatives which are, or not only the negatives. For me, the growth is generally almost only positives. So, because I see what is the result of it, I see that it does not mean scarcity, not at all. It means to behave like nature. During the day, I grow. During the night, I degrowth in some way. Or during the summer and spring, I growth. And in autumn, I prepare to degrowth. And in winter, I degrowth because I need to grow the next year again. So it's something very common. But I have seen today two very interesting pictures on Facebook, and I share it on LinkedIn already. One was the horse with eye flaps, but
So,
made from iPhones. Great one. Great one. And the second you have seen probably as well, there was a shadow of a speaker, and the shadow, he has a microphone, and the shadow was the Pinocchio nose, you know. Exactly.
telling lies.
Exactly what I have seen yesterday. So that was so strong that I have to share both pictures.
Yep, thank you. When I hear degrowth, I hear a historical perspective that I have repeated many times. You've heard it, that we come for the last 50 or 70 years after the Second World War, the advent of plastics and so on, and we were in a disposable society. We probably still are. You can't repair anything, and yet we want more. And it's the more mindset. I need a bigger car. I want a bigger house. I want more of this. I want more of that. The more society, and now is hopefully being replaced by a different mindset, one that I call enough, the enough mindset, which I compare to degrowth. The enough mindset says, I have enough of a house. I have enough of a car. I have enough. And I think that over time we will get more into the enough mindset and further away from the more mindset.
And we
So
discussed
I
enough
take your
once.
termite. Did we really? It's a good word. It's a good word.
I think one interesting thing about degrowth is when you look at nature, when there's an abundance of food, animals tend to become larger. And when there is less food, then animals shrink back down in size. So at the moment, the largest animal that's ever lived is the blue whale. And it's alive in our time in a way which is quite nice. But all the big animals, the super large bears, the super large tigers, they've all gone. And everything is actually getting a little bit smaller.
You remember I showed you before the glass bottle from Georgia generally. It's not bottle anymore. It's a lamp. And why I show it generally, this is the way, so simple it is to stop wasting, So simple it is to change the way how we think about different things. It's just to see it in a different perspective. And our talks really helps a lot of. And that's interesting. And you would like to say something more about the termites, Bill, when I interrupt you?
No. No, I love the term of degrowth. I don't like the word degrowth. It sounds negative to me. I would like there to be a better word. but I'm hoping to hear more about the concept.
You know, for me, when I introduced social waste, even for me, was very hard to say that. In front of people speak about social waste, it does not feel good at all. But it is one of the most and strongest messages which I delivered. I have to go over this unpleasant feeling, repeat it and repeat it, and the people did understand. So sometimes we need to really have the word which we don't like at all, but which will help us to really understand.
Have you seen this thing about bees? And a beehive population has, it can vary in size, but there is for bees the maximum size. And then after that, the hive will split into two. They'll create a new queen. And she will migrate and start a new hive. So they don't allow themselves to become overgrown. And if there's no overgrowth, you don't need to degrow. So in a way, whatever word it is, it can have negative connotations because it is a mistake to have overgrown in the first place.
Yes, Bill?
But then somebody needs to determine what is overgrowth, what is too big.
You know, already there are people working on that. Elon Musk, 2026, he will send a rocket to Mars. 2028, he will send people to Mars. And the solution is here, you know. I can imagine right now, when I heard this 2 days ago, I said, okay, so the first rocket will prepare the graveyard. And the second will fill it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have 2 minutes 30 left.
So what conclusions have we come to for win? I think it's very personal. I think even if we're talking about a win for society, I think it's very personal. What I determine is a win, that society has just accomplished a win. That's very personal. And you can't have a giant saying this is a win.
Yeah, sorry, Bill. I was just going to say one of the problems with winners is then you have to have losers. This is talking from a society's point of view. And you can either have an underclass who are losers, or you can have enemies. And so it's very dangerous when society is looking for a win, because then there is a victim or an enemy involved.
You know, I do remember that when I was 18, I wrote a very short poem. It's called Victory. And it sounds about like that. Standing above my opponent, I lost. That's all. So it is really here, and I think it should be personal, because if it will be personal, the humans will act. If it will not be personal, they will not. So in some way, it must be unpleasant and personal to really be able to do so. So I would like to thank you. We have 1 minute left. I would like to thank you for next great discussion, and have a nice time for your waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, and be human. And I don't know how to add this win inside at the moment, to be honest. Because we already won, because we meet every single week. So it can be the permanent victory, which we already have. So thank you, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.